So we've come a long way since we started demoing the bathroom. And as you can see behind me, we've got our cement board in the tub shower area. And then in all the other walls we have our mold resistant green board. And I just wanted to show you some of the materials, tools, and some of the hardware that you may need to complete the project for yourself. Specifically, when I started doing the installation of the cement board in the shower, I started using a Phillips head backer board screw, and just didn't get the deep purchase or install that I was looking for. And I switched over to a square tip screw, and I just wanted to show you the difference quickly. So on my right, we've got the Phillips head, and this is a Phillips head right here. And I started using this to install the cement board, and didn't get, like I said, what I wanted. Didn't set deep enough into the board. So I switched over to a square tip, and you can see there's a square tip, and was able to install these screws much better. And just give a quick look. As you can see, you've got the screws that install. I just couldn't get them deep enough, and so I had switched to the square tip, and I'm able to get those at least flush with the cement board. So what I've decided is just to remove these out. Do it one at a time. I'll take this one out, and then I'll replace it with the square tip, and just give you a look and show you how much better that'll install. And with the square tip, I'm able to get that just set a lot deeper into the face. So now when I'm installing my materials, my mastic over, these screw heads won't stick up. They'll be nice and flush and install nicely. Now on the green board, I use a typical drywall screw, and these were able to be set just underneath the skin of the green board. So you want to make sure they're set not too far in, because then it won't hold the green board onto the wall, but just enough so that you'll be able to cover them with your tape and mud. And I've got a seam right here, and I've decided that I was going to put tile up the wall. I made sure my seam was below the tile line, so I wouldn't have a large seam to tape above where it's going to be painted. Just a lot easier. Also, you can tell I kept my two set screws by the seam so they hold nice and clean, and I followed my stud line all the way up to the top. And I kept my patterns obviously nice and straight, followed the studs. Just makes for a better install and easier when you're mudding to go all the way in a straight line. Instead of individually taping each hole at a time, you'll do a nice section, add your tape, and then be able to sand it. Now, just some of the cuts might have been a little off right here. However, I know that I have my casework, which will expand over or extend over this little gap, so you won't have any visibility when it's all complete. And just came around my walls. Made sure when I was installing, I measured from my outlet box, from my my water line, for the toilet, and for the sink, and for the drain of the sink, the water and cold, and then of course the outlets here. So when you're doing that, you'll take a reference point, measure your width off the reference point, measure your height off the reference point, and mark it, screw it, and so when you want to install, you then just slide that over your existing hardware that's sticking out. Now, of course, accidents happen. We talked about that once before. Must have left a couple of screws in. You could see that what I noticed when I was installing, the wall wasn't holding itself nicely or flat to the wall. So apparently I had left a couple of screws in that I missed during the demo. So I've got to push the wall in place. What happens is, if that screw or nail is protruding, it'll make a dimple, which it has, and then I'm just going to cut that out. Luckily here it'll be below my tile, and but even if it wasn't, I could patch that in with some tape and mud if I wanted to. But you don't want to have your floor, or your wall, excuse me, bowing badly. So what we'll do here, we'll cut open. I'll just cut this open and just try to find out what is behind here. And in fact, I just missed that screw. So I will just remove that. I'll be able to push things back, and I'll just tape over that and flatten that out when the time comes. And before I start to tape, I wanted to just show you some of the materials we've got here. Now, for the concrete or cement board behind the shower, I'm using a material that's made for cement board tape, and obviously it's non-porous. It'll manage or handle all the heavy water that'll be in the shower area. So I'll apply this along all of our seams that you see. There's a seam here, there's the corner seams, the seam up on top, and I'll apply this material. I'll utilize it with with our mastic or mortar, and to cover the seam area. You always want to do that. Now, where there's a combination of where the cement board meets the drywall, I'm going to use a seam tape made for wet areas, and I'm going to use that because I don't want to use the mortar outside where I'm going to paint. It doesn't have a good smooth finish. So I'll be able to use this material, which is for wet areas, and it'll protect the seams from absorbing water. And so I'll show you that in a little bit. And then in the green board area, I'm going to use a no mold drywall joint tape, and that'll go along my seams, and it'll also go up on my edges as needed. Now, to start, along the green board, covering up all the screws and my tape, I'm going to use this joint compound, and this is called Durabond. It's very durable. It's very good, as you can see, for crack resistant and heavy fills. And that's what the first coating of Durabond is perfect for that application. I'll just take a little bit of the powder, put it in a bucket with some water. I'll put this unit on my drill, and I'll just mix it. And the same thing goes for my mortar. That goes for my cement board. That's not porous. Water won't hurt it after it dries. And I'll also powder mix into this bucket with water, and I use the same tool to mix it and get into a creamy texture, and apply it onto all my seams and all of my tape.